Hello, and welcome to the Knit and Grace Knitting Podcast. This is episode 2. Hi there, and welcome or welcome back if you're a returning viewer. My name is Mia, and I am the maker behind Knit and Grace. And I am coming to you, if you are a new viewer, I am coming to you from the, suburbs of New Jersey, just outside of New York City, where I live with my husband and our 2 cats. And yeah, this is my little corner of YouTube where I get up to a lot of making, primarily knitting, quite a bit of sewing as well, and dabble in other things here and there that I share with you all. So today I am bringing you my monthly knitting podcast, and I'm hoping that it should be a quick one this month because I don't really have too much to share, and this is going to be one of those months where I have tons going on, so I am planning on putting out a few extra videos for you all. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I mean, let's get started with what I'm wearing. I'm not wearing anything that's me made today. I'm just wearing a big oversized sort of tunic style sweater. It's from, I think, the Loft. I bought it many years ago. And yeah, we are, well, I guess to put context to where we are, I am filming on Saturday, October 1st. You're seeing this on October 2nd. And here on the East Coast, we are sort of batting down the hatches, waiting for Hurricane Ian to make its way up here. Luckily, by the time it gets up here, usually hurricanes aren't very strong force. Most of the time, I did live through Sandy and some other ones. Yeah, this weekend we're just really expecting a lot of rain, and right now it is raining. I'm not sure that you're able to hear it. But tomorrow is when we're going to get the storm in full force. So I wanted to go ahead and film this before it really starts raining, and obviously just because of my filming schedule, I usually post on Sundays, and then before we have a pretty big break in the day of the rain before it starts raining really strongly. The storm comes in. It's anticipated to be in our area around 7 or 8 p.m. So my husband and I want to go out for a little rainy walk and do a few things before we kind of have to hunker down and stay indoors tomorrow. So I wanted to go ahead and film this before then and not have to change, so kind of why I'm wearing a big oversized tunic just with my leggings. And if you're a lady, you understand you want something that covers all your bits when you're wearing leggings, and unfortunately most of my hand knit sweaters do not fit that criteria, since I tend to knit them either cropped or just at the hips so that I can wear with my dresses and my high-waisted pants and such. So yeah, so that's just a very long-winded way of me saying I'm not wearing anything me made today. Already we're getting to the rambling, so maybe this podcast episode will not be as short as I thought it was going to be. So yeah, I have a few things to share with you, as well as some life updates. So I will get into it now. So the first thing that I will show you are my finished objects. So the first finished object that I have to share with you, or actually the only finished object that I have to share with you, is my Vertices Unite. I cannot believe that I cast this on and cast this off in just 3 weeks. And so I will share it here for you in all its glory. This is what it looks like. And I will insert a picture so that you all can see it kind of spread out. Oh, and it looks like we're losing some light, so hopefully this video is not too bad. But yeah, this is my Vertices Unite by Stephen West. My color palette was very heavily inspired by Casey of Young Folk Knits, and I knit mine up using Pearl Soho linen quill. And yeah, I mean, I'm so excited to wear this shawl, and I'll sort of go into a little bit more detail on this. I'm gonna put up a bonus video this month for you all, in 2 weeks while I'm in Rhinebeck. I sort of am making myself a Rhinebeck outfit, and my Vertices Unite is part of that outfit. So you'll have a little bit more information about this and the making process in that video. Yeah, I love this. It's going to be worn to death, and look out for that video later this month where I show you a little bit more of the making process and sort of my thoughts on the pattern. So that is my one and only FO, as I mentioned, so we will move on to the whips. Okay, so the first whip that I have to show you all is a returning whip from last podcast, and it is my Saglan Pullover pre-knit for Albina McLaughlin. Yeah, I want to show you how much I've done. I think last time I had just cast it on and done a tiny bit of the shaping. I don't even think that I had split for the sleeves yet at that point, but this is what it's looking like. I've done quite a bit of progress. I'm making mine a turtleneck, so I did go ahead and cast on the collar there, and I knit a couple inches of the body, and so now my plan is actually to transition to the sleeves. So this is a pre-knit, so this pattern isn't out yet, but I will link to my Ravelry page so that when the pattern's released, you'll be able to get it there. And I'm hoping to finish it before the pattern is released, which will be sometime this month. Albina hasn't let us know yet. But yeah, so this is a pre-knit for her. So I'm not required to have finished it by the time the pattern is released, although I will aim to be finished with it. And I am knitting this in Knitand in Vroa. This is the colorway Vroa, and it is an undyed colorway that they released for Canute's 60th birthday back in May. And when I saw the colorway, I knew immediately that I wanted just like a big oversized turtleneck in it, and now I am knitting a big oversized turtleneck in it. So I ordered 600 grams of yarn, and so my plan is, now that I've done, you know, the neck, which I always like to do anyway, just because I feel like it gives you a better gauge of how long to make the body and whatnot. So now that I've done the neck, I'm going to transition to knitting the sleeves. Because I am a short person, I always have to adjust the sleeves for length. And I tend to like a bracelet length sleeve, although this one I might knit a little bit longer so that it could be a little extra cozy. I haven't decided yet. And then my plan is to knit the body, and I'm knitting the option for the body that has no shaping. So it's just going to be straight down. And part of the reason that I'm doing this is, even though I know based on the pattern suggestions and in terms of the yardage that I need, or the weight that I need, since Knitand is based on weights, 600 grams is plenty. But I just want to make sure that I make this as oversized and big as possible. So I want to make sure that I use up as much of my yarn as possible. And that's another reason why I'm knitting the sleeves before the body. And just for context, let's see, this is how much I have left of my first 300 gram bag. So just a couple of balls in there. So as you can see, it's not much. This will probably give me a sleeve in a little bit. Now this will probably be one sleeve, what I have left. And so, you know, the rest will be taken up by the other sleeve and by the body. And so I'm knitting these on, or this pullover on size 7 needles, which is 4.5 millimeters. And I am knitting the 6th size, if I haven't mentioned that already. So now that I've finished my Vertices Unite, I'm going to kind of give this one a little bit of love again and just cast it back on. I'm not sure. I'll have to figure out my train knitting for next week, since, you know, I feel like most of the projects that I have going on are a little large right now. But looking at my notes, my next one that I have is a test knit for Lizzie of Hive Knits. And I am testing the First Cardigan. And so I have done quite a bit. I actually cast this on the train on Tuesday of this week. And then I've gotten through probably most of the shaping for my yoke. And just give me 1 minute, my cats are going nuts. Okay, I apologize for that. One of my cats went to the vet and the other cat is not liking her right now, and so they're kind of fighting and it's a whole ordeal. So I'm sorry I was a little distracted. So again, this is a test knit for Lizzie of Hive Knits. This is a test knit of the First Cardigan. And so this is the second pattern that she's put out, the first one being the first sweater. And I started this on Tuesday of this past week, and I've already, I think I'm, if not halfway, a little bit more than halfway done with all of the yoke shaping before I split for the sleeves. And this is a really cool construction because it is a raglan construction, and the sleeves are knit up in half fisherman's rib. So that's what the half fisherman's rib is looking like. This is, and it's a little scrunched up right now, but this is what the yoke is looking like so far. It's going to be a V-neck cardigan with a nice fluffy sleeves. And this project is just so comforting, so just simple. When I saw her, let me see. Oh, yep, it's showing the color quite accurately, I think. So when I saw her put out this test call, it was one of those situations where I was like, I knew I shouldn't have signed up for another test, but I wanted to test this really bad, so I signed up. And then I was like, oh my god, I hope I don't get picked. And then I got picked. And so here we are. The good thing is that I am testing one of the larger sizes, so the 7th size, I believe. So I'm actually going to have extra time to test this. So she's giving the deadlines based on what size you're knitting. And to complete the test, you have to have finished the body in one sleeve. Although ideally you would finish the entire sweater. So I think my deadline is like the middle of November, so I should definitely have this finished, especially if if I keep progressing in this manner, I should definitely have it finished by then. And so this is a top-down cardigan. It's knit flat, and so there is purling involved, and it has the half fisherman's rib detail on the sleeves. I think she knit hers up in a US size 4, which is 3.5 millimeter needles, and I got gauge on US 3s, which is a 3.25 millimeter needle. Or she may actually, I feel like her gauge was even tighter than that. But in any case, I got gauge on a US 3 or 3.25 millimeter needles. And I was pretty confident that I was going to get gauge because this is a similar gauge to the Miles T that I just tested it for Rosetta last month. And yeah, I'm really enjoying this pattern. I lost my yarn, but the yarn that I'm using for this is I decided to take my first dive into the world of cones. So I actually purchased a Holst Supersoft cone, and I'm holding it double with Drops kid silk. So all the European yarns in this cardigan, and I'm really excited because even though, you know, I'm holding it double with the kid silk, and you know, I think when all is said and done, this cardigan should come in at well under $100, and I'll sort of do the math and insert it here for you. But I'll probably use just like half of the cone and then, you know, plus the drops. So these are the two colors I'm using. So the Holst cone is in the color almond, and the Drops Kid Silk is in the color light pink, which really in person and probably here on the screen too, it's more of a lilac lavender than it is a pink. But it's really cool to see how these two very different colors make, these are the colors and this is my swatch. So the colors just blend beautifully, and it turned out exactly how I wanted it to, because essentially I didn't want it to be too white, and then I didn't want it to be like too like yellow beige. So I just love the fabric, and I think that this is going to be a perfect addition to my winter wardrobe and my spring wardrobe, especially since in the winter I pretty much wear primarily black, and so I think it'll be nice to just have a neutral cardigan to throw on top of everything. And then in the spring, when the weather starts warming up and you still need a cardigan, this is gonna look great with all of like my floral dresses. So that was kind of my mindset or my thought process when I chose those colors. And now I'm thinking, we'll see how things go. Maybe I'll knit myself a black one. And it's funny because I feel like in the past I never used to knit myself things when I first started knitting, I didn't really knit myself garments that were very neutral color, just because I was like, oh, well, if I'm knitting, I want to make sure that it's something fun. But at the same time, the garments that I reach for are those garments that are in neutral colors. So I've just kind of, you know, resigned myself to the idea that I reach for neutral colors and I need to knit in the beiges and the blacks and the browns, and then maybe accessorize with my colors for punches. And I definitely accessorize with color. So I think that, you know, as I've gotten older and as I've gotten more mature in my knitting as well, I've kind of just resigned myself to that fact. So yeah, so next up I have a really exciting knit. It is the Wildwood Shawl by Melody Hoffman. And let's see how I'm going to do this. This is the shawl. And so the shawl is a half shawl. So you start with one stitch and you're increasing all the way up. And then once you finish the main triangle, you're then going to pick up all the way around the triangle and knit down. And then you sort of bind off a border all the way around. So I am really excited. I've been watching her progress knitting her version, you know, very closely. And so this is not a pattern that is released yet. It's not even in test knitting yet. I am a patron of hers. So she releases her beta patterns to patrons before they've even been test knit. So they haven't even been tech edited yet. And she released it to us yesterday, which was the 30th, and I just immediately decided that I needed to cast on. And I finished the first chart, and I'm already halfway through the first repeat of the second chart. So the second chart, you end up repeating it 3 times, I think. And so her sample is knit in Nutidin, as I'm knitting mine in Nutidin as well. I'm knitting mine in the colorway Yarnvelia, which, if you all recall, is the color that I used for my Fields of Gold sweater that I tested for Bella of 100 Acre Wool. And yeah, so when I had ordered Yarnvelia, I actually initially thought that I was going to make myself a turtleneck pullover with this color, and I ended up making that one. So I had ordered 600 grams. And so I had another 300 gram bag, and this shawl that Melody has designed is a 300 gram shawl. So I was like, perfect. And so I think she knit hers on US 9 needles. I am knitting mine on US 8s. So I did start with US 9s down here, but I know that she has quite a tight gauge compared to mine. And so I wasn't liking how the fabric was looking. And so I switched to 8s, like probably right around here. And I think where you can see the difference more is on the back side. Let's see if it'll focus. This is, you can kind of see it's very loosey-goosey and not neat. And then once I switch to the size 8s, it's actually pretty neat and even garter. So yeah, so I'm really excited. I just started this. I don't know, we'll see how far I get in it. And I'm excited to have another shawl. I don't know, I think this year specifically, I just want to be wrapped up in yarny goodness. It's been a tough year and a lot of changes, and I just like want to wrap myself up in shawls and turtlenecks and, you know, just all the cozy this winter. So that's what I'm knitting. I'm knitting shawls and turtlenecks and all the cozy, primarily in Nutidin yarn. So yeah. So the last object that I have to show you is, and so this is supposed to be a test knit, and I'll sort of get into that and a little bit of a life update as well. But this is a test knit for Anya Human of Woolen Garden, of her transition socks. And so if you watched my podcast episode last month, you'll recognize these colors. These are the leftovers that I had of my woolen twine Corriedale sock. And so it's mulberry, I'll show you. So this is, oh, is it gonna focus? There we go. So this is mulberry, this is porridge, and this is coral. And so before we even finished the first test knit for her, she asked if we would be interested in test knitting another sock. She's putting out a collection of 3 socks. And I said yes, especially because I knew I was going to have tons of yarn left over, which I did. And I don't know, just something, and it's not the pattern at all. It's not the pattern. There's nothing wrong with the pattern. I've actually sent her an email with my notes on the pattern. There's just something that's like blocking me from knitting these socks. And I think that, again, where I am right now, I've had a really rough couple of weeks, which I won't get into, but I really wanted something that's just cozy and comforting, and the color work and the, you know, the socks, it just wasn't calling to me. And yeah, and so I kept putting it off, and then finally, the night before yesterday, so on Thursday night, I cast them on, and I finished, like, this first little color work section. And then yesterday I had a day off, just so I can run errands and do a few things. I had a couple of doctor's appointments. And so I had a day off, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to force myself to knit these socks because the due date is Sunday, which is tomorrow or today when you guys are seeing this. I really, like, I was in such a miserable headspace forcing myself to knit these socks. Like, I didn't do anything at all yesterday, and it has nothing to do with the socks. It has everything to do with my headspace. And, you know, knitting isn't one of those things that should make you miserable. Knitting is something that I do, you know, for fun. And understanding that it's a test knit and I made a commitment, is why I was pushing myself to do it, even though I didn't want to. And then ultimately, I think probably like around 6 or 7, like when my husband came home, he was just like, oh, you're in a really bad mood. Like, what's going on? Like, I thought you had all these plans of doing fun things today and like having a good day off. And I was just like, no, I didn't have a good day off because I was forcing myself to do something I didn't want to do. And I kind of like just wasted my day off. And that's when I decided, I'm like, I can't keep knitting these socks, and I'm going to contact her and I'm going to apologize for not finishing the test. There's no reason why I couldn't finish the test. So I will be paying for the pattern. I've asked her to invoice me. And I'm definitely going to be finishing these socks at some point when I feel like knitting these socks. It was to the point where I just was not feeling good, and I just made myself so miserable for an entire day trying to force myself to do something. And I just couldn't. And so, yeah, that's kind of why these are a whip and not a finished object. They should have been a half finished object for this podcast. And, you know, that's kind of, there's, again, no excuses, but I've, you know, asked Anya to forgive me and not finishing the test. And again, I'm going to be paying for it. And I have submitted the notes of the few things that I did notice with the pattern, so she will have those. She just won't have the yardage. And then hopefully I can finish these in the future. So yeah, that is all I have with regard to my whips. And then we can get to a very light acquisitions portion for this month's podcast. Okay, so acquisitions, and one of these acquisitions I'm not actually counting as an acquisition, or 2 of them technically, because it's a net neutral. I'm immediately knitting the First Cardigan with it. So as I mentioned, I'd been wanting to try the cone yarns for a very long time, you know, especially when, like, you know, Rebecca had her cone along, and Inga of Knitting Traditions talks a lot about, you know, her Holst cones and whatnot. So I decided to bite the bullet, and I had initially looked at the woolly knit cones, but I wasn't really loving the colors for what I was going for, so I ended up buying a Holst cone. And with the shipping, based on the weight, like from, I think it's Denmark to here, you know, it's like, for me to buy one cone, it was better for me to buy multiple cones because I would be paying the same amount in shipping. And so might as well, you know, sort of economize on the shipping and make it a less amount overall, I guess. So I'll talk to the Holst cones. So the first cone is the almond colorway. And so again, this is the color that I'm using for my first cardigan. And so what I did is, the reason why you saw it in a cake is because I was knitting it on my commute. So I just placed this on my food scale, and then I ball up, you know, I balled up 100 grams, and then the first time, and then that's what I still have some left of, and then I balled up another 50 grams so that I have some more to go, ready to go when I finish that one ball, or that one cake. And then the second color I got was the color cinnamon. And so I just absolutely love this. And I think this one might be one of Inga's favorite colors, but just so you guys can see the difference, this is what it looked like when it was 500 grams, and now this is 350 for this one that I've taken off of this one. And so, yeah, I think it was really, really affordable. It ended up coming to $66 with shipping for both of these. So because I'm holding this one single, I'll definitely get another sweater out of it. So if I hold another sweater single, or, you know, again with another mohair, I'll get another sweater out of this. So I'm thinking maybe another ranunculus or something like that. And then depending on whether or not I hold this double or single, I'll get either 1 or 2 sweaters out of this. So I think $66 for minimum 3 sweaters quantities worth of yarn, I think is amazing. And I actually kind of already have a plan to use this one and this one in a color work sweater. So this would be my main color and this would be my contrast color. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, so they're the whole Supersoft, and yeah, that's all it's giving me. It's just giving me the dye lot on the inside for both of these. So this one is almond, this one is cinnamon, and I'm really excited. And so the other order that I placed, which I think again is a net neutral because this is immediately being knit up, is I placed an order with the Wool Warehouse, so you can see the classic organza bags, and this is my first time ever using Drops Kid Silk. So there we go, and I'll show you the color. I think it's having trouble focusing because it's so fuzzy. But the color is, again, it's light pink, or the color number is 40, but the color name is light pink. And so I purchased, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 of these based on the yardage that's recommended by Lizzie. I probably won't use all 9 because I always end up shortening my sleeves, but again, better safe than sorry. I'd rather have you know, a skein or 2 left over than not have enough, especially when you're talking about dye lots, and you know, dye lots sometimes can vary. So yeah, so this is that, and again, net neutral is technically an acquisition, but is being knit up immediately for the test knit. So yeah, so last part of the podcast, I guess, and as my memory card is telling me that I'm filling up, are just my October plans. So October is going to be a very busy month for us. We're planning a trip up to Rhinebeck. We have a few other weekend plans here and there. So yeah, so I actually don't have too many knitting plans for this month. Just because, again, it is going to be a really busy month. But definitely I want to make significant headway into my Saglan Pullover and significant headway into my cardigan. And then everything else from there is just kind of a bonus. Sewing plans, I'm finishing up a dress that I'm wearing to Rhinebeck, and again, you all will see that video in a couple weeks. and I have started looking at the woolly knit cones, which I have zero business buying. But yeah, I watched Inga's podcast and I just got really excited about it. So I've actually been working on cleaning up my Ravelry queue, so I can figure out what I would buy the cones for. And I already have one that I'm planning on buying because my mom has asked me for a black hat for Christmas, and I'm just like, why? So I'm gonna knit her the Oslo hat and hold black doubled with the kid silk mohair that I'll order again. And then I'll probably order enough kid silk mohair to make myself the classic by Espace Tricot, which is just a raglan turtleneck pullover. And so I'm thinking I'm gonna make that. So I think I can get one cone, I can make the hat and the pullover for myself. Other than that, I have to figure out, you know, my queue. I'm cleaning it up. I want to make sure that if I buy something, I have plans for it, especially, you know, being as someone that is a larger size. I also want to make sure that I'm accounting correctly for the yardage, because some patterns, if I'm holding them double, I can get away with one cone, but some patterns I would need more than one cone. And then also just taking into account the fact that I'm going to Ravelry and I'll probably pick up a few things there. So I'm actually not, I'm happy that the discount code is, I think the discount code is going through October 24th. So I'm just kind of in the process of cleaning up my queue for Rhinebeck and in preparation for buying some woolly knit cones. And then so what I'll do is I kind of have a budget. I'll see how much I spend at Rhinebeck, and then the remainder of the budget would be spent on the woolly knit cones. And so that way I don't like go overly crazy. Yeah, and I mean, I think I usually go into Rhinebeck just with one project that I want to find yarn for, and then, you know, anything else is extra. So I think that that's a very reasonable amount, and then sort of figure it out from there, because I don't want my stash to grow too big, and I have actually been actively working on, you know, knitting down my stash, which I'm excited about, but I don't then want to, like, you know, replace everything that's in my stash either. And I probably will be having a destash in the coming months. I actually have to just sit down and take pictures of everything, but I've actually set aside some yarn that I want to destash. So again, not too much knitting plans, just really finish the two test knits that I'm working on, or the pre-knit and the test knit, and then anything else kind of comes from there. And then the other thing that I'm really excited for also going to Rhinebeck is that my friend who I've mentioned, Melanie of Woolen Berries, and I are planning a yarn swap. So we've set a budget, and I'm going to send her some yarn. We'll see if I find anything at Rhinebeck. If not, you know, I'm going to source some local stuff for her, and then she's going to do the same. And so she is in Norway, I'm here in the States, and we are going to swap some yarny goodness. And I'm already thinking about all the snacks that I'm going to send her. We both have sweet tooth. I guess you can't really say sweet teeth, but we both have a sweet tooth, which is exciting. So I'm like really excited to send her some of my weird American snacks. Be prepared for peanut butter, Melanie. I hope you don't mind peanut butter. Peanut butter is like such an American thing. I definitely have to send at least one peanut butter snack. And yeah, I'm like really excited for that. So even just thinking through that, and the fact that I got an advent from Sweet Sparrow Yarns, I'm kind of thinking I might do what's it called? Vlogmas. Oh my god. I need a second cup of coffee today. I'm thinking I might do Vlogmas if that's something you guys are interested in. So if it is something you're interested in, just let me know in the comments. I know it would be a lot of work, and some videos would be like my normal videos, longer videos, and most of them will probably be shorter. But you know, I can do things like opening up my advent, opening up my box from Melanie, you know, things like that. So if that's something you're interested in, let me know. And I'm thinking about it. I haven't completely decided on it. And yeah, other than that, life is extremely busy. I think I mentioned a couple months ago or podcasts ago that I recently changed positions at work, so I'm now in a change management position, and I am leading change management efforts in a project that we are that's set to go live at the end of November, so right after Thanksgiving here in the US. So it's just been a very, very crazy time, and I think that that's kind of been contributing to my wanting to niche just cozy things. So, you know, all the mohair, all the knitted in, all of that. And that's kind of, you know, where some of my unfortunate anxiety around knitting the socks came from. But I've been managing with my therapist and things like that. So overall things have been really good. Yeah, so what you guys can expect from me for the rest of the month. My second video this month is going to be another making journal. So I'm going to be making the Wolfrock dress by Jacqueline Cieslak, which actually she's just released as an individual pattern. So that's really exciting. If any of you were ever interested in sewing that pattern and didn't want to buy the entire book. So I'll insert that information below. And then obviously I just finished my Stephen West Vertices Unite, so that's what you'll see there. That'll be a making journal there. And then I'll have a bonus video of sort of Rhinebeck and my Rhinebeck experience. I'm going up with two of my really great friends. We're going to spend the weekend up there. We're going to spend some time in Woodstock, some time at Rhinebeck, and so you'll see a bonus vlog from me this month. So I hope that this video found you well, you're having a good weekend or have had a good weekend depending on when you're viewing this, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.